Nestled high above the Neshaminy Cliffs, on a plateau known as Indian Rock for the Native Americans who once populated the area, sits Tyler Hall. Part of a sprawling estate that once covered more than 2,000 acres, the land is now the home of Bucks County Community College and a neighboring park. Each year, thousands of students attend Bucks, an institution known for its arts programs, and no one would have been happier with the college's arts tradition than the woman who built the hall and found peace in the rolling hills of rural Pennsylvania. But today, many might ask, who is Stella Tyler?
Stella Elkins Tyler, from a great Philadelphia family, the Elkins, great benefactors of Philadelphia in the arts, music, the art museum, etc. Actually, her grandfather founded Elkins Park, and she grew up there, mostly schooled at home, but also some schooling in France, which gave her a tremendous love of things French.
Stella's son, Sidney, would later write that his mother's time in France would be among the happiest and most meaningful of her life. As fate would have it, a string of tragedies would put an end to those times. Beginning with the deaths of her uncle and nephew aboard the Titanic in 1912, this shock was followed in cruel succession by the death of her parents and the ravaging of her beloved France in World War I. By this time, Stella would begin suffering from what her husband, George Tyler, would call moods. It would take years before she found a muse for her sorrows through art at Tyler Hall.
It was ready to move into in the early 30s. George was very big into parties and the social scene. And his people would come here, his friends, relatives, in long cavalcades of cars. They would come in the way. If you come off of Richboro Road, you go through this long drive that winds through the woods along the creek, and then suddenly you see this Gothic vision of an estate sitting on top of a hill on a cliff. And that must have just been jaw-dropping for the people that came here.
For all its opulence, Indian Rock and the estate now dominating the landscape would become a place of healing and solitude for Stella Tyler.
She is a great enthusiast of art and actually is quoted as saying it helped her avoid, she believed, a nervous breakdown, which this is something she said in the 1940s, which was a time when mental health was not so easily spoken of.
Through her grief, Stella found peace through sculpture and painting, and it was at Tyler Hall where she would showcase her work.
I think her greatest satisfaction was not simply the display, but just doing it. Many of these larger works were displayed in her gardens. You think of those great French chateaus with the fabulous gardens. Stella is bringing all this to Bucks County, and it stands as a tremendous legacy.
The year 1947 brought a final sorrow to Indian Rock with the death of George Tyler. Stella retreated once more into the isolation of the estate.
She liked her quiet time. She liked just the arts, doing sculpture. And she more or less liked to be by herself. The atmosphere around the estate changed remarkably. When George was alive, whenever there was people here, it was alive with festivities. But when he passed, it became a very quiet place.
In 1963, Stella Tyler died. In life, the people who knew her could not help but be changed by her. In death, Stella's influence is still being felt today.
She's a person who reinvented herself several times, a great lover of arts, a great encourager of people. I guess it was that kind of enthusiasm and her sort of longevity that inspired me to go on and study and reinvent myself. I got fascinated with Stella, which inspired me to, in my old age, I went back to school and got a master's in art history at Temple University.
54 years after her death, hands still mold clay and music still fills the air on the Tyler estate. Though the vast corridors of Tyler Hall no longer echo with the sounds of Stella's piano, her legacy lives on in the statue-filled gardens and the bustling college that bursts with creative energy, second only to the feminine spirit that once and still flourishes at Indian Rock.